Hey guys, welcome back to Absolutely. My name's Hassan. This is Neb, and today we're going to talk about the finale of The Flash and maybe the Arrowverse if the video's not running too long. And the reason I'm here talking about the finale of The Flash when we already have a video doing that here on the channel is because you guys demanded it. You demanded it in the comment section. All the comments were, "Where's Hassan? We want the rage of Hassan talking about the final season of The Flash." And here's the thing, guys. I deliberately took a vacation the day it was airing so that I would not have to do this. But here you are, making demands, making my boss yell at me. So we're going to talk about it. Neb, you already gave your thoughts, didn't you? You loved the finale. You thought it was
I
a
loved
work
it
of
so
art.
much. And it was so good. They wanted you to talk about it too. We got 2 videos now because it was just so good,
It
Hassan.
was
I'm so excited.
it was like a cultural reset almost, right? Like this was truly one of the greatest pieces of media to come out. Like Spider-Man No Way Home out the window, Avengers Endgame, like forget about it. Like Guardians of the Galaxy 3, people just love that. No way. The Flash finale blew it all out of the water. It's what comic book fans have wanted for years. I'm done doing this bit. Guys, it sucked. That was so horrible. What an awful thing. I watched the whole final season. It made me so angry. It doesn't make any sense at all. I'm sorry if you liked it because I hated it. And I
I
think
don't think you have to
something's
worry about
wrong with
someone
you if
liking
you
it.
enjoyed it. I don't understand the point. We took the whole cast. We took Caitlin and we killed her off. We killed her off. We replaced her with a manic pixie dream girl going, I'm a baby. Oh no, I'm a god. Like I don't what's your deal, Keone? What's your deal? We replaced her. We never even had Cisco Ramon reacting to the death of her best friend. Barry's like, oh man, I don't know. Caitlin's dead now. What are we gonna do? Gabagoo, I got a baby and he's angry and they're from the future and I'm Barry Allen and I cry a lot. Shut the fuck up, Barry. Your parents aren't even actually dead. They're literally in your universe as Jay and Joan Garrick. I know they're like, well, they're not my parents. They look the same. They got the same DNA. How about they start acting like it? It's crazy, right? Oh, what a crazy choice. Also, Rick Cosnet, I've wanted him back for ages. I thought he was funny as anything. That is entertaining. He went from, yes, I'm a detective and I'm dating Iris Westtube. He just got so zesty, bro. Why was he so zesty? The whole episode, he's like, Barry Allen, I'm here to kill you. You're not going to get away from me this time. You stole my life, Barry Allen. I'm Rick Cosnet. Iris West was my love affair. Oh my God. Look at my daughter, which is just your daughter in a blonde wig. I'm Eddie Thawne. What the fuck was he doing? Censor that, Dan. What was he doing? I don't understand what he was doing. Why was he acting so zesty? What was happening? I don't understand. He was zesty, Neb. Why was he so zesty?
Yeah, I don't think you had to bring me on for this one. I think you could have just streamed for like 10 minutes and we could have released it. But yeah, I think that was an Eric Wallace decision. Someone pointed out one time, I thought it was a really funny tweet where they said, if a fan base knows the showrunner's name, it's not a good sign. I've never seen such hatred since Mark Dudenheim, maybe. And
oh yeah, he was.
I've seen, like, with Mark Dudenheim, he at least made season 8 just great. I'd say it was great, honestly. And there was like some complaints about it, but
in the middle of like a very intense comic book plot line, he'd be like, "But where's the drama? I need Oliver to kiss another girl today. I'm Guggenheim. I'm also bald." We were having a discussion about bald people and Lex Luthor casting. Guggenheim would be a great casting.
He's a menace. Yeah, I feel so bad because from what I can tell, he's been in the industry for a decent amount of time. He was a comic writer back in 2010 or so. He was doing some Blackest Night Titans tie-ins, I believe. And yeah, it doesn't always translate to television. Or maybe his comments were bad too. I'm not even sure.
Stick to the written word. You're not ready for the big leagues. You had your time. You took a franchise that was known for one thing and you decided to make it Mighty Morphin Power Rangers level bad. And I love Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Let me be clear.
Me too.
I watched it as a child. And as a child, it was like the Avengers. Oh my God, Tommy's morphing. He's a good guy. He's a bad guy. He's white all the time. Whatever, That's reference to his Ranger powers. I don't need you in the comments getting mad at me for pointing out that it's weird that Miss Marvel died around a bunch of white people, because I'll keep talking about it. I literally have a Mighty Morphin Power Ranger morpher right there. You can't really tell because it's grayed out, but it's right there. He took it and he made it that. Like, even the costumes, like, you can't tell me when Barry is standing next to Rick Cosnet in his silly little cobalt blue outfit, he doesn't look like a power, like he's like wearing the Green Ranger vest and Barry's wearing a Red Ranger costume. If they had helmets on, they're literally wearing Power Ranger suits. And I just,
Yeah. Yeah, when I saw the cobalt blue set images for the first time, it was like months and months ago. I thought the suit was pretty good, and honestly, I thought it was good when I was watching the episode. And then you saw like a full image of it, and I mean, it is comic accurate. You know, they tried. It's just you can tell it's very quickly strapped together. There's like 30 other problems going on, but you know, I think that's probably the least of it. But yeah, it was just all around. It's so bizarre. None of Cobalt Blue made any sense. They tried to make it comic accurate, which made it even less comprehensible.
oh my god! Like he like
Nobody.
had his the speed, the reverse, the negative Speed Force
Yeah,
created a character for another reason, and they gave him a whole new life. They resurrected him, and it doesn't even like explain how long he's been resurrected or how long he's lived with this other guy. And like, it doesn't. The
and like why
moment
the
they
crystal
decided
is
to
blue.
personify this, so like the very first time Barry goes to the Speed Force in the show, right, happens in season 2. In season 2, he meets the Nora in the Speed Force, but it's very much written as this is what the vessel, like the shape the Avatar is taking, not that it's actually like a version of Nora, but it's just speaking. It's just an embodied voice that needs a body, but it doesn't mean more than that. And it's a very cool visual experience. The show ruined itself when it decided that it was going to do this whole, oh my god, Nora Ellen is actually the Speed Force, but it's also your mom, but it's not your mom, and it's a powerful figure that exists and it loves you, Barry. It's in love with you. The Speed Force doesn't need to love anybody. It's energy. And the negative Speed Force had really cool visual characterization, and now it's like very campy and weird. I don't know what they were thinking. Neb.
I just think it's similar to Titans, where I described how it felt like a lot of the episodes were written in a first draft stage, and then it was just sent out to final, and nobody took a look at it and had any comments or suggestions, and everybody on the crew doesn't communicate with each other. None of it's consistent or makes any sense. And the fact that that's what this era of DC content like is going out on is crazy. Like it's such a fall from grace.
It's so scary because like why Arrow had a good finale. I mean, it wasn't maybe the finale people wanted. I do think it got too like gimmicky crossovery. Like Oliver didn't deserve to die in like a CGI battle. He deserved to die getting murdered at the hands of somebody, like something really hardcore.
Right. But now
so
it seems great.
Yeah, but
compared to what we got.
They had really cool stuff, and then it's like, I think it's just Eric Wallace, man. Like I don't know what his issue is, because you have Superman
definitely.
and Lois airing at the same time. Did they just gut their entire cast for the final season? Yeah, but you know, it's been good. It's been good. And then you have Flash, and I'm embarrassed, and I'm confused, and I'm sorry if you're a big fan of the Flash, but Allegra is a character. What's the fucking point, man? What's the point? You're named after a medicine, and you sit there, and I get it, Kayla Compton, you're a cutie. This isn't about that, okay? You're pretty, okay? But look, what do you do on the show? You have fake Miss Marvel powers. Oh, beep, beep, boom, 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 boom. You got a crush on Chester, but half the season you're like, I don't know, we can't do this. We're third graders. We're a middle school relation. We can't do this. And then randomly you're like, oh, hey, no, I love you. Cool. You're Chester P. Runk. Chester, you're fun. I don't think you get a lot of cool shit to do, but you're fun. They gave you powers in the last episode. That's dumb. That's fucking dumb. But oh my god, Cecile, guys, pull up a thing from Cecile. Pull up anything from Cecile in season 1. She's just the hot DA that Joe West is giving some dirty little looks for, and we're proud of him. Okay, you want to dap up Joe West that season and be like, hey, that's my boy. Hey, he killing it. And then she becomes a mom. Except false, guys. Cecile had a daughter. Cecile had a daughter the whole time. Do you guys not remember Cecile's daughter? Because it's not baby Jenna that they keep talking about. Cecile had another daughter that was in an episode that was like a grown woman in college. And they never reference her ever again. Ever. They pretend she doesn't exist. Why? I'd
like to apologize to the editor of this video, but this was necessary and demanded by the audience, so we gotta move.
I have to yell. I have to get it out of my system. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Why is Cecile the most powerful metahuman that's ever existed?
She can just fly now. She flies now.
Do you remember? She just flew, and then she just killed Godspeed. Also, who saw the set photo? There's a set photo that is Cecile surrounded by Godspeed, and I know it was an intentional reference. It's literally
It
the
had to
image.
be, right?
It is the if you're young, sorry, here's an adult little reference here, but it's the reference of the white woman in a room full of black men before they film a pornographic film, but it's a black woman in a room full of white Godspeeds. They like had the angles correct for this too. It's insane. It's insane. It doesn't make any sense. Why are they doing that? Also, like, why is Godspeed there? Godspeed was an awful villain. Godspeed was not written correctly to be there. If you could do it again, you do Zoom, you do Eobard Thawne Reverse Flash, you do Matt Lech Reverse Flash, and maybe you do Savitar. But I'd say you ditch the stupid suit pretty quick and just have it be evil Barry Allen, you know? But what
That
you
was
don't
the worst
do,
part of Savitar in the finale. Not even how he died. That was pretty bad. But just the fact that it's Barry and nobody acknowledges it. And, like,
they
Barry
call him
almost...
Savitar.
Future Barry almost kills his daughter, and she's not traumatized or anything. It doesn't acknowledge that.
Dude,
He's just
let's
gone.
talk about the
None of it
daughter.
makes any sense.
Let's talk about
man.
the daughter. They put in a blonde wig. They put her in an ugly pixie cut blonde wig. Why? Because it's zesty boy Rick Cosnet's daughter, bro. It's Rick. That's the daughter I would have had with Iris had Barry not stolen everything from me. That's what he sounds like in this finale. I'm not joking. That's an accurate interpretation, right? It's weird,
It
right?
is, but
He's
yeah.
so zesty, bro. Like, oh my god. Like, let's find him his man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why he's looking for Iris West? Let's find him Wally, okay? Maybe they'll date. Wally was notably left the Flash to be in a very prominent gay drama show on Disney, right? What was it called? Love, Simon?
No, that was a movie. Then he showed up in the spin-off show as well. But he's doing better than some other cast members to put him on.
Oh, for sure. I wonder if Candace Patton will ever find work outside of this ever again.
I hope so. Oh, that poor
I
woman,
hope she's
man.
given
Oh my
material
God.
that is worth her, because she has not had her fair shake, and the performance she gave was horrific. And I get it. The only person, like, I got to give Grant Gustin so much props. He really tried. He was given some of the worst written material I have ever seen, and he put his heart and soul into that. He was like given dialogue. They're like, Iris, the negative Speed Force has an avatar, and it's Eddie, and now I have to kill Eddie, but I don't know because he's my friend, Iris. And it's like, it sucks. It's awful writing, but he tries. He
I've never been given the impression that Grant ever gave up on his material. Like, with other cast members, you can feel that they're checked out, but Grant never, after all this time, he soldiered through it. I'm so proud of that guy.
Jesse L. Martin has a strat. I don't know if you guys noticed, but whenever Joe West is on screen, this is how he does it. Everything he's saying is so stupid. He made his character Joe go, and then my wife Cecile
he does do that.
A superhero. And you never expected us. We're at a coffee shop and my wife's a superhero. But one thing you know, we'll always be family together. And then he takes like a big sip of like what's always implied to be like vodka or something, and he goes, to my grandbaby, to my wife, to Barry, my son. Like, what he always does it. It's always the same speech.
I swear they don't even write for him. He just improvs and he nails it. Just like,
I swear, you're absolutely right. He like roughly reads the last page of the script and he's like, oh wow. And then he's like, Barry, the Reverse Flash. He's like, not in this episode. Barry, Cobalt Blue. And they never even have a scene with Eddie and him. They never have a scene with him and Eddie. What a missed opportunity.
There's a lot of missing scenes, and then the end of the finale is just.
Oh, don't even talk about it. I'm not talking about it. I'm not talking about it. I can't do it.
That's fair. They
Cisco
did try
not
to
being
get
in it
Cisco,
breaks my heart.
And Carlos was busy with something. And I know it seems easy to just like ask him to film a video call or something like that, but I'll give them a bit of leniency. I'm also glad that he didn't show up, just because I'd feel bad if he did. Some things are a blessing and not a curse.
I really wish that the show knew that it was switching showrunners before COVID had happened. Eric Wallace took over during the crisis season. That way, the show could have maybe had a finale season of the adult version of the show, and then when they pick up, like, this is all a fucking joke now, like, none of this is serious.
Yeah, and I'm convinced that Eric had to be running off Todd Helbing's old work, because there's no reason that the Bloodwork arc was that good, which I really think it was. Like, I thought it was great. And then immediately nosedives. The Godspeed stuff was unwatchable. That's when I gave up.
Oh my god! Like, and it's like
I couldn't believe it.
I kept getting excited about like the other forces was a recently interesting in comics. In my opinion, I really hated that run. Maybe Dan and Benny will have a different take.
Nah,
I never liked it.
I like that run, but that storyline pisses me off because the whole point of the this is gonna be a little bit of a tangent.
Yeah.
The Speed Force exists so that every speedster in DC Comics uses the Speed Force. There's like a couple of characters who have super speed through other means, but it exists so that there's consistency between all of those characters, right? But then you introduce something like the Strength Force, and the problem is that there's like 2,000 DC characters with super strength. So are you like retconning them all now to like have that as well? It's
Yeah.
just when you make like an earth-shattering like canon implication like that, it's so silly and they never get acknowledged. And now it's like, the Still Force and the Sage Force, like it's just trying too hard. The Green Lanterns all have their own little colors and they all do their special little things, but it doesn't need to go for every character. Like we don't need this.
No, I absolutely agree. I feel like it took like a very weird nosedive, and then the TV show took it and made it so much worse. How weird was it to have grown adults be like, Barry, Iris, you're my mommy and my daddy. You're my daddy, Barry. I'm your son. The forces are your kids. You f- the Speed Force and you gave us little babies now. What are we talking about? Also, the lightning. This is a big, big gripe with this finale and the ending of the show as a whole. Lightning used to be really cool because it
Yep.
was an unintentional consequence of moving that fast, and then it was harnessed through one dope attack. Now, do I mind the elevation of the attack? No, I think it'd be really cool if Barry's so much more powerful at Speed Force that instead of having to run around, he could just like run and chuck it. Or maybe he turned to like a Pikachu when he was doing a Volt tackle, you know? That'd be really cool. Instead, Speed Force like, it's lightsabers now. We can just Speed Force lightning, Force lightning. I'm Barry Allen. This is so cool. We love Star Wars. We had Tom Felton on for a season. Like, oh my God, it's just so embarrassing. Like, imagine if Tom Felton would have come on the later season. No one of any reputation or respect would have come on this season of Flash. This season was downright disgusting. Oh my Lord. It was the final
Yeah.
swan song. And one of the cool things they did, they're like, oh my, imagine a version of this that was good where Barry grabs his kid. He goes, all right, I have a story to tell you. But before I tell you this, you have to believe in the impossible. Oh my God, that was such a good line. It was such a good line. Wasted! Wasted. For what, guys? For what? For Chester P.
Yeah.
Runk? For Chester P.
Man.
Runk? Oh, and I haven't talked about him because I don't
Oh,
even
go
view him
ahead.
as a character. Chill Blaine?
I love Chillblain. The
I don't
Chillblain fandom was so
care what
happy.
you love. Are you kidding me? He wears a stupid leather jacket. He has nothing on. I get it. He has abs, and then he jumps from "I'm a villain" to "Kill." I'm a little sensitive boy, and
what
then he
gets me
gets a
is
little
just,
zesty too. He gets
Yeah.
a little zesty for no reason. He's like, "Kion, I'm really gonna miss you. You're my best pal." What are
The
we
funny
doing?
thing about Chillblain is how so at least Chester is a comics character, right? And he does have the black hole powers in the comics. So you know what? At least that's a little accurate. Screw it, right?
Wrong.
And then Allegra is the showrunner's original character in the comics too. But you know what? Technically, she's still in the comics, or whatever. And Chillblain, he is in the comics. Don't get me wrong, he is. But I looked into it. There's like 7 different Chillblains in DC Comics. It's sort of an ongoing bit where he'll show up like one time and then never again. And then in the future, whatever next comic it is, he'll be like, "I'm the new Chillblain." It's like Chillblain 4. They just keep this bit going. But he only has like 8 total appearances ever in DC Comics. And suddenly he's just a major character in this show for no reason when there's already somebody with ice powers. It's baffling.
Oh, it didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense. I was glad they gave his Caitlyn back, but I'm really angry they ever killed Caitlyn. And that, like, Barry acknowledges that the last thing he did to Caitlyn was blow up her lab. But
Right.
she's just, like, suddenly okay with it.
Do you know why Tion was introduced? Did you
Why?
read the interview? Well, so Eric Wallace had plans Tion to be a 2-season storyline, actually. And he didn't imply this, but he was also doing Blackest Night. That was his end goal for season 10. And I realized in the finale when Tion turns into like a nature goddess of life or whatever, the idea was definitely that Tion was going to be the counterpart to Necron in the Arrowverse because you can't have White Lanterns. So she would have just been like the life force, basically, is what I realized. And I just like, oh man, like they really should have scrapped that whole thing like immediately when they
Eric
only
Wallace
had one
is lying,
season.
by the way. He
Oh
wasn't.
yeah.
He literally just did those interviews to say, "Oh, these cool plans," in like the slight hopes that fans would be so excited that they'd maybe try and push DC to
Uh,
continue
I
some
disagree.
version of
I don't
him.
think he was lying. I don't think he would have been allowed to do it, but I do think he wanted to do it. I think that was his
Dude,
idea.
I mean, they just pulled John Diggle around for 3 seasons with a box
Right.
in his hand to not even do anything with that. They introduced
Exactly.
they introduced his stepdad as a Colonel Stewart, right? They do everything they need to do to basically make him a John Diggle, John Stewart amalgamation, and they just why? They didn't do anything with it. And now Diggle's really cool on Superman and Lois. He shows up or once a season, says some cool stuff and walks away, but he's a different character there.
He's
I'm
not, but he is.
yeah.
Yeah. It's just it's sad that like the Arrowverse. I mean, when it started, it was innovative television. Genuinely, it seems silly to say now, but up until the Marvel Netflix shows started happening, there really wasn't anything like it on TV before. And even then, when the Netflix shows started, I thought they were great, but I still preferred the Arrowverse to an extent because it was just more comic booky to me.
Yeah.
And the Netflix shows only had just one street level tone, where there's a lot more variety in the Arrowverse. And now it's just like it just goes out as an embarrassment that nobody wants to think about. People still love Grant Gustin because he like everybody grew up with him, so they're nice to him even though the show turned unwatchable. That's just kind of the legacy where everybody loved Grant, but nobody likes to talk about anything else that happened in these 10 years.
Yeah, it's really heartbreaking. I mean, there were moments where like they gave it always felt like some producers had a vendetta against certain actors. Like that's how the show really like all the shows play out because it's you can never see it just being a byproduct of the storyline. Like Cisco has to be unlikable for this bit to work. They feel like they do it so intentionally. Like remember when Barry does Flashpoint, mind you, instead of it being a season long or half season long, the show just never it was never willing to commit. It like was never willing to holistically commit to a cool idea. Because Flashpoint is a great concept, and you could have Barry live in the Flashpoint universe for like all the way to the mid-season finale, and then he
Yeah,
has to stop it, and then he reverses it, and then you show how things are different. Instead they just like functionally reset almost everything to be the same,
yeah.
right?
It's
Minus a
like
couple character moments just to make people mad at Barry.
It's like they tried to rectify it with that Armageddon storyline that they did in season 8, where it was a reverse Flashpoint. It sounds funny when you say it out loud. Is yeah, and that still, even that, just because it was Eric Wallace, it was horrible. But yeah, just you can always just see the mistakes early on. Like people love season 1, and season 2 was still loved, but people were like, isn't this sort of structurally the same as season 1? It's like, yeah, but still pretty good, right? And then season 3 immediately started off on the wrong foot, and it was just like, oh no. It just kept getting worse and worse, but people still liked it at the time. It was just a bit of a growing like vocal group of people who were like, they're kind of doing the same thing every season. They try to switch it up with season 4. It just goes off the rails completely. Season 5, I still think season 5 is one of the worst seasons, and people don't give it enough shit. And then yeah, now we're just here. It's embarrassing. I am so embarrassed. I've spent hundreds of hours with this show. It's nothing to show for it.
I own so
It's
many
oh
reverse
man.
flash frings. I regularly wear a Starlab sweatshirt around the
Yeah.
house, and like I used to go to places with it. It was like my current profile picture that is like a thing that is basically like my brand logo. I'm wearing the Starlab sweatshirt in it. Like that, it
Yeah, it
sucks
was a
that
big deal. There, I would see people all the time with Starlab shirts, Flash shirts. Like this show, like it's still embarrassing, but it did make Flash a household name. He was always sort of the guy with super speed, but nobody could tell you his name. Nobody could tell you anything about him. I grew up watching the cartoons. I didn't know anything about him, right? But yeah, it helped a lot with the cultural influence of the Flash. But yeah, I'm glad it's gone now for sure.
see that, guys. You see that? Sorry, I was pulling this up. I'm wearing a reverse flash sweatshirt in my profile picture. Soft announcement for VidCon. It's just yeah, it broke my heart. I know I just like got in a very angry rant, and I'm sorry. The reason we stopped doing these reviews, like the reason I stopped doing flash reviews, is because we're not a hate channel. We're not a hate watching channel. We don't watch things to crap on it. If we don't like it, we're not going to watch it. That's why most of us privately watch Star Wars. We don't publicly talk about it because you guys don't, you guys haven't earned Star Wars content. When we gave you Star Wars content, you gave us death threats, so we're not giving you any Star Wars content. Not that there wasn't a crazy people giving me death threats and Benny death threats and Dylan death threats during our Flash reviews. But
Yeah, it
yeah,
happens.
I just felt like I
Star
was being
Wars is
too
a bit more
negative.
touchy. But yeah,
Yeah,
you don't
because
want to turn
people
into
are
one of those
worse.
hate channels where it's like they farm content off of every episode. That was a big problem with Batwoman in particular, where you could just sort of sustain a home in the United States if you just made a Batwoman video every week. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
and like
it's
for me, I
lazy
thought
and it's exhausting.
Batwoman looked genuinely awful after the first trailer, and
Yeah.
I never watched a single episode of it.
Yeah. And
And
you have the right approach to things. So now, whenever there's a show like Velma, you know, and then I can't believe it got renewed for season 2. It's like, well, it had the best debut of like any HBO Max show in however long. Like, yeah,
it's fine. No
because
one's
you
gonna
guys
watch
watched
into
it so
season
much.
2. They can't do anything about it. So like,
Oh
it's
yeah,
good. Yeah. And Scooby
it
Doo as the
lucked out.
IP is not tied to Velma because they're doing other Scooby Doo stuff.
It's so funny if you go on Max right now, not HBO Max, just Max. If you search through the avatars, like the pre-selected ones and everything, there's a whole Velma section, and there's no Scooby Doo in it, and you're like, oh yeah, that, that is funny. Like, what
God,
is
it's
this?
ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I think the CW really broke my heart. It had so much potential. There was a time where it was one of those things that like DC couldn't do anything right in the movies, and this is when Snyder still reigned supreme. And I was always like, "Here's how you fix it, man. Bring Stephen Amell as the Green Arrow onto the big screen. Like bring Grant Gustin. Like you have the building blocks for it." And there was a time where like I was young. I was very very young. I was like a freshman in high school when a lot of this was happening. I was a eighth grader, but I really believed that that was the way to fix it was to bring these characters on, and they're just horrible.
Yeah, it was. I'll have to find the quote, but when James Gunn revealed his new DCU slate at the private press event, he was very open about it. How DC had sort of messed up over time, where there's like 7 different universes going on, and even the stuff that's supposed to be connected together doesn't technically fit. Like how Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 84 are like they're technically sequels, but like they don't even make sense within like the context of each other, you know. And he was just so frustrated, and he mentioned the Arrowverse as well, and he acknowledges that it has like fans and everything, but yeah, it was sort of like the Arrowverse was just one big experiment. It doesn't get the credit that it really deserved for doing all of that with television. It's really hard to do crossovers like that so often.
No, I mean
And
Arrow,
yeah, it's
Marvel's
just
Agents of Shield were the
rough.
first two, and they're the only
Yeah.
ones on at the time. And Marvel's Agents of Shield did a really great job of it. I mean, they were tying together with the MCU before that was ever a real thing, and now they're pulled out of continuity. But for a long time, it was like the definitive MCU tie-in show was
Yeah.
Marvel's Agents of Shield. They'd have Lady Sif on, they'd have Sam Jackson on, they'd have Kobe Smulders on. It was awesome. And Arrow was happening at the same time. Like I think those actors are all really tight because they did cons together.
Yeah, it was really cute. They'd always hang out and things, and then like Supergirl used to film in the same city as well back in season 1, so there was like pictures of them meeting up and things like that. It was just a cute little. You just really had to be there, you know. Like
Yeah.
a few years from now, like people are gonna grow up, and it's like you can't get into the Arrowverse anymore. Like you literally had to be there. You can't just watch 1,000 episodes of television. Like I know like people like One Piece, but like it's longer than One Piece, you know. Like it's ridiculous.
It's crazy
It's
because
just over.
I don't know about you, so I was a big Smallville fan. Like I grew up on it. Not to say it's like this definitive. I'm not going to sit here and argue that like Smallville's better than anything. It's got its
Right.
moments. It's got some great moments. It's got
I've
some
seen
really
a
bad
few
moments.
episodes myself, and like it just has a certain tone to it that's really great. It feels truer to the DC universe than the Arrowverse did in some ways. That's kind
In
of
some
it's
ways,
really
and in
hard
some ways,
to
it really
explain.
doesn't. And in
Exactly.
some ways, it really doesn't.
And it's just
But
I wasn't there for that, and it feels like too much, even though it's just one show.
My
But,
cousin was
yeah.
watching it when I was like a literal kid. Like we're talking like an 8, 9 year old, and that was like his show. So we'd watch it together sometimes. Watch a lot of it. Shouldn't have been watching it. Very graphic show. Whatever. So it was like important to me. And I was by the time I was like old enough to really be paying attention to media, Smallville was on the end of its run. It was season 9, season 10. So I watched those air live, and the following year was Arrow. It was I think 2011 is when Smallville ended, and Arrow happened in 2012.
Yeah, late 2012. Yeah.
And I remember sitting there October 8th, 2012, in my basement. It used to be the biggest TV in our house. And I told everybody, hey, I'm having this room. I don't care what the you guys want to do. Stay out of the room. I want it. And it became a tradition for me. I skipped out on dates. I skipped out on hangouts with friends because every Tuesday was Flash and every Wednesday was Arrow. And it was so important to me. It meant I didn't, it was something that was there for me before I had friends. And then I had friends, but it was still so important to me. It was such a I would talk about it like a fucking weirdo all the time. I
Yeah,
was my
I was
obsession.
hyper fixated. I would try to get all of my friends into it, like,
Oh my god, I
really
got
hard.
so many people into it too, and it
Yeah,
was so important. Like we used to when the Savitar season was airing, the flat or the choir room used to have like a giant dry erase board, and we take these yardsticks and draw timelines and like try and draw where like we were trying to back when we thought the show was smarter than it was,
right. And you
trying
thought
to
that
like
they knew
come
what
up
they
with
were
the bigger
doing with
mystery.
Savitar.
Yeah, it turns out there was no mystery. There was just an awful show written poorly.
Hmm. And in hindsight, you see it, but it's like, it still has some charm, a little bit.
Yeah.
It's the bad
So
stuff later. You can't justify.
this definitely turned more into like a Flash hate video than a retrospective. We'll let Dan decide how, or Dan and Benny decide how they're going to title it. Like he's nodding, he's behind the scenes going, "Why would you give me more work?" But at the end of it, I just have to say, I loved a lot. I loved a lot. I was obsessed with these characters. Wally West's introduction, so fun. And then when they gave him his powers of Flashpoint, and he'd been kind of this miserable, angry guy in the regular timeline, and then the Flashpoint, Wally was like, "Hey, I'm Wally. What's up, man?" And he's really cool. And he grew out his hair. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna talk about hair for we'll talk about hair through the Flash stuff because I think it's very significant for a moment.
It
Um,
absolutely is.
he had this like very short haircut with a fade that looked good, right? Then he grew the high top fade, and they fixed the cowl, like the neck on his costume, and he looked definitive. Okay, he looked incredible. High top fade over the cowl. He looked so cool. He basically had like Ginger Wally West curls in a way. It looked awesome. And then he got a perm and he grew his hair out, and it looks so horrendous. It's crazy.
They were letting
I don't
him
know
do
why Kian
whatever.
Lonsdale did it to him. I think he's a very handsome man. He did not pull off that look in the slightest. The entirety of the time he had it, never get
It
a
was
perm,
funny to
man.
see him experiment. It was crazy when I found out that, like, even when the show got a new showrunner, it was still so racist that they didn't let Candace Patton just wear her, like, just her natural hair, just with curls and how it looked. She got to have it, like, one time for, like, a beach deleted scene, something like that.
Yep.
And they let her be more free with it later on, which is great. It's just, yeah, it's
That's
so
crazy
funny.
that they didn't allow it. Like
Yeah,
thank God we're finally in a because I've noticed this like personal life stuff. There's a lot of people I grew up with. A lot more African American, like a lot more of my African American friends are doing this, but also like white friends that have much curlier texture of hair that have always used like flat irons to like kill their hair and make it like bone thin straight are now feeling more comfortable to have curly hair because the society we're acknowledging that beauty isn't in this straight cookie cutter lens. And I hate that Candace wasn't allowed to have her natural hair. I hate that Wally was allowed to have it and then he chose not to. He's an idiot. I don't know
yeah,
why he
it
did
is.
it.
It says
He
a
lost
lot
that
where
lie.
I remember Flash season 8 was thought to be the last season internally, and Candace Patton had recorded some podcast with the guy who plays Don Hall / Dove in Titans. He has his own podcast, and they were talking about her work on the Flash and everything. And she said that literally she was just too traumatized by stuff that had happened on the Flash set to even watch the show anymore, to where she couldn't look at it. And then the show got renewed for the last time. I can't imagine how awkward that was to film. But yeah, I'm just happy she's free. She can move on. She can do whatever she wants. I'm happy for her.
Yeah. Well, and back to the hair discussion. So she didn't get to
Yeah.
do anything cool with her hair. She got to dye it at the end. And I hope that was a personal choice. She looked fantastic as like a redhead with natural
She looks
hair.
so good.
She looked really cool in it. Not that I don't think that. I mean, I would have preferred an Iris West that's a redhead, but it doesn't really. I'm getting to the point where I don't really care as much about appearance. I care about performance.
Exactly.
Grant Gustin went through a hair journey on the show. When you get to season 1, he's got a very early. He's got a 2012 boy look to him. Okay, and then into season 2, they gave him a little bit of a shorter look, and it looked really good. He's got a little bit of fade. Season 3, very lame. He doesn't do much special with it. Into season 4, however, is when he went into the Speed Force. Man, does he come out with this beautiful look of long hair? And there's a couple. That's probably some of the best visual sequences in the show or in those first couple episodes when he gets the bright cherry red leather costume and his hair is super long. He has a slow-mo sequence where like a bomb goes off and he collects like all the bomb matter and his hair is flopping around, and then they cut it for a stupid wedding, and then then the hair journey ends. But
I
that's
remember
my
people
definitive
were like,
season 4.
yeah, people were upset recently when Grant said that he wanted to have blonde hair for the show and then he wasn't allowed to, and people were so upset. It's like, no, it's just like if you dye your hair like that, it's not sustainable for filming a show like this, and it would just damage your hair. Like, it's okay. Like, it's all right.
Yeah.
He doesn't have
No,
to be blonde. It's fine,
he
guys.
was told by an executive that like, hey, I don't think you're gonna want to do this after 2 years of like bottled dye and dead hair and hair falling out. Like you're gonna feel really awful. And who cares? He is not a comic accurate Barry Allen. He just isn't. He's
Not
an
even
amalgamation
close.
of Wally West and Barry and probably other characters in between, and he made it work. So we
Yeah.
don't need him to have
He made
blonde
his own
hair.
version, and it was fine. And this is crazy to say. I'm saying this the like day before The Flash is premiering in America tonight. Ezra Miller in that movie gives a more comic accurate performance as Barry from the comic. Like, it sounds crazy to say, but like, and I love Grant so much. It's just like, yeah, that version is not the comics one. It's Wally and it's a few other characters, and that's great. It's just, yeah, it's just, he was never accurate in the first place. He's never blonde, and that's okay. We all love Grant anyway, right?
Yeah.
He was just so good. I was with him. Feels like my entire life. It feels like I've watched him grow up, and it's silly, but yeah, now he can make all of his little Netflix movies with dogs and fire, whatever he's doing. You know, just he can
So
rest.
I guess our final thoughts because we're hitting 35 minutes and Dan's
Yeah.
giving me a dirty look. No, he's not. We're hitting
He's
35
not, but
minutes, so we're gonna call it here. This is the last time I'm gonna talk about Flash. I think probably forever on like a video dedicated solely to it. And that's crazy. I grew up watching like Emergency Awesome, Comic Storian, Only Stupid Answers, Source
oh my
Fed
god,
Nerd, watching
Emergency
them
Awesome, yeah.
right review these shows, and I always wanted to be on one because I thought I loved like after I was done with the show, I was waiting for the first person to upload their post show review so I could watch it. So when it was Tuesday, I was always excited for Wednesday so I could finish my Flash watch, you know. And then I got to be on a show like this. It was a dream of mine. Benny and the Absolute team pulled me on for Young Justice and let me do Flash, and it sucked, man. It was awful because the show was bad, but it's really cool that I got to end it doing this. So this is a thank you to the Absolutely team. Thank you to everybody who worked on the Flash. That's name wasn't Eric or Wallace, because you. I'm sorry.
And
Hey, respectfully, I hope you get work and you get to improve your craft as a writer. But I hope one day you do an interview where you acknowledge that you pooped the bed on this on purpose for some maniacal reason. That way, I can. If you're being petty, I'm gonna rock with you, brother. But if you did it because you thought you were writing A rank stuff, I'm disappointed.
people are so mad. I've seen him get death threats, but yeah, he's
Don't
just a
death threat
guy.
him ever.
And
but
do not do that. He's
do not
just a
respect
guy.
him
It's
as a
not that
writer.
deep. Yeah, the
Yeah.
show sucked at the end, but like you'll get over it. You know, life goes on. But
get over it.
yeah,
But yeah,
regardless, it was
goodbye,
still an
Grant.
important
Goodbye,
part,
Carlos Valdez. Goodbye, all of
very
you.
important part of our lives. And yeah, thank you to Hassan for getting me on due to the Arrowverse in the first place. I would not be on this podcast without you, buddy. So
Oh, buddy, I just needed content. You make threads, man.
Yep.
I did it for
I
content,
do all the work.
Neb. I'm glad we ended up being buddies. Also, everybody in the initial video seeing your profile picture and everybody in your replies thinks you are in fact a woman. You are aware of this, right? Yeah, this is like
I'm so aware. Yeah,
I
it's
noticed
very
this
funny.
recently because you replied to several comments that were like, "Oh, come on, sweet," like they called you directly her, and you just went with it.
Like,
and
bro,
I love that. I laughed so hard.
I don't do anything about it. It's
Yeah.
not necessary, but it is funny. People just assume you're exactly what your profile picture looks like, and I'm just gay, so I just have women all the time. But like that, no, like I'm just a guy.
Well, guys, I feel like I'm dragging this on because it's honestly like kind of hard to say goodbye to this.
Right, I don't want to. It doesn't even feel over. The finale didn't have any closure to it.
No.
Like Arrow did.
Oh, I
but,
guess we have to
like,
talk about it for like 2 seconds. In
A
the
little
end, they
bit.
introduced 3 new speedsters, and it was very stupid. We introduced
Max Mercury,
Max Mercury, which is
Jess
crazy.
Chambers, and Avery Ho. And Avery Ho was already in the show in season 8.
Avery Ho
which
was great.
Crazy,
Avery Ho was
but-
fun casting actually. She had very
Yeah.
good
It-
chemistry
totally
with their
fine.
pulse.
Totally fine.
Totally fine.
And then
I
Max
don't
Mercury
care.
is crazy.
I'm not dealing with Jess Chambers. I won't do it.
Jess Chambers
I
is
won't-
such an ass pull. I think they're cool, but they've been in the comics for like 2 seconds in a future timeline. First of all, it's like they're doing anything.
Yeah, I won't talk about it. But that's
okay.
all. That's the
It's
end of
over
the
now.
show. That's the end of
We're free.
everything. Tom Cavanaugh showed up and he did some laughs. We didn't talk about it. He was kind of fun in the finale until he wasn't.
fun.
He was because he knows he's on a ridiculous show, so he gets very campy. everybody else doesn't know, but they play it real serious. Hunter Zolomon was fun. It was really fun to see Teddy Sears back.
Teddy Sears has been waiting for that his whole life.
Dude, and Grant Gustin had COVID, so he couldn't act on screen with him. So that's why the scenes are the way they are, because usually body doubles instead of the real actors. And that was fun. The final action set piece was really stupid. It looked genuinely horrible. Rick Kusnet was too zesty for my taste. I couldn't deal with it. But that's the Flash's legacy, and we leave you with that.
Yep.
Show sucks, man. Okay.
I guess that's it.
Let's see. I can't wait to read your comments down below. I'll be looking at them. Send your death threats to @HassanKader on Twitter or @NebsGoodTakes on Twitter.
Send your death threats to me. Top 10 Arrowverse death threats. We got them.
If we get enough cool death threats, we'll make a video about it.
A whole thread of death threats.
Top 10 death threats we got across making CW shows. Dan says we won't, but it'll be on my personal channel. We'll bring it out. Don't worry.
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. Okay. I love you faces, and I'll see you guys next time. We had a sponsor. I didn't know what it was. We're sponsored by Into the AM. Get these fantastically soft shirts. You'd code comics at checkout. Code absolutely at checkout. We had to do a sponsor. I totally forgot, but it works. Dan's laughing. They might put something at the beginning of the video. I don't know. I love you guys. Thank you for letting me do this. Goodbye.